Parshas Vayechi, at the end of the parsha, is a famous Or HaChaim HaKodesh. On the pasuk in Bereshis Nun Yud Tes Chaf, the Yosef is telling the brothers, Atem chashavtam l'ra, you might have had bad intentions, but Elokim chashva l'tova. But God has His divine plan. That was all part of the plan to go ahead and get me down to Mitzrayim, etc. And the Or HaChaim compares it to you plan on giving someone poison, but at the end you gave him a good cup of wine. So we see from the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, it seems to be from this Or HaChaim, that even if you have a machshava ra, even if you have an improper thought, a bad thought that you want to harm someone, but nevertheless, if it doesn't happen, so there's no need for atonement. Everything's okay. However, this doesn't seem to be true from other sources. The Gemara in Kedushin, there's a famous Gemara in Kedushin, the Gemara says, Machshava ra eino mitzaref l'maisa. That, we have a Machshava ra, saying like this, that Machshava ra is a mitzaref l'maisa, like Or HaChaim. However, we have a Mishnah Nazir, which seems to say differently. That the Mishnah Nazir, if a woman takes on the Naziris, takes on the prohibition to being a Nazir, so she can't drink wine. And she went ahead, it was too late, or whatever she took on, not to eat cake, ice cream, and then she felt it was too much for her, and she went ahead and did it, and she ate it. So the pasuk says, "Vashem yitzchach la," that she needs forgiveness, because even though her husband annulled the vow without her knowing, but since she had a machshava to do something wrong, so you need atonement. So we have an appearance from the Or HaChaim HaKodesh. It implies a machshava ra. As long as you don't do anything, as long as it doesn't end up bad, then you don't need an atonement. But from the Mishnah Nazir, it seems to appear you need an atonement even if you just had a machshava. So there are different ways of reconciling. Answer number one is you could just say simply, when the Gemara says machshava ra eino mitzaref l'maisa, it means it's not mitzaref l'maisa, but you still need some type of kapara. But with the Or HaChaim, he seems to say you don't even need a kapara. Or others want to suggest as follows, based on a brisker Rav, that there's a famous brisker Torah on the Torah that in the Aseres HaDibros it talks about lo sachmod, not to covet someone else's property, someone else's wife, and also has the lashon of lo sisave as well. So the Mefarshim talk about what's the difference between the two languages. So some say nothing, but the Rambam has different levels. The Rambam writes, let's say you're walking outside and someone rides by in a beautiful car or has something you like, and impulsively you say, you wish you had it. So there's no prohibition of lo sachmod. Maybe it's a tik you have to work on your midos or on your emunah that you shouldn't have it, but there's no violation of lo sachmod. Lo sisave is when you make a plan of attack. Someone has something, you make a plan how you can get it away from them, and therefore you plan an attack, but you don't actually take it. So that's lo sisave. And the Rambam writes, lo sachmod is when you actually make a plan of attack and you actually take it. So the Rambam has three different levels. This is an involuntary thought that you're not violating lo sachmod or lo sisave. You just have to work on your midos. But lo sisave is when you make a plan, but you're not but you don't end up acting on it, and Losachmod is you act upon it. And in fact, that's what the kasha they ask on the Rambam, the Rabbi asks on the Rambam, what do you mean it's a lav she'ein bo ma'isa? The Rambam writes that, and the Rambam goes on to it, and if you violate Losachmod, you don't get makas. You don't get a good old-fashioned whooping. How come? Because it's a lav she'ein bo ma'isa. It's a negative commandment that doesn't involve an act. So therefore you only get makas on something which involves an act. So the Rabbi asks, like, what do you mean? He just finished saying you don't violate Losachmod until you actually take it. And now he's saying Losachmod is a lav she'ein bo ma'isa. Which one is it? So that's what the famous Brisker Rav and others point out. Really, Losachmod is an Isser Machshava. It's a sin in the heart, a desire. But what's the measuring stick? How do you know you've gone too far? When you actually take the object, that's when you violate it. But it's really an Isser Machshava. That's why if you have a third party taking it, coercing it, and taking it away from someone, you get it, it's also Losachmod. So the Brisker Rav points out that, so when do we say, based on this, when do we say a machshava ra, eino mitzaref l'maisa? That's when it remains a machshava. If it's just a machshava and you didn't do anything, so then you're right, eino mitzaref l'maisa. However, but a machshava, but in Losachmod, it's like, even you needed a maisa to violate Losachmod. So to here, even by the case of the woman, even though what she did was a maisa heter, she did something which was permitted at that time. Nevertheless, she didn't know. So it's not a pure machshava. So the machshava is attached to the maisa. So in other words, really, even a pure machshava, only you don't need atonement. You only need atonement when it involves a maisa, just like in the woman's case where she did a maisa. However, a third approach is the one we want to focus on, is from the Kwei Chemda, Rav Meir Dan Platsky, in the Kwei Chemda, the name of his sefer on Parshas Vayechi. He says, he asked this kasha, he says, Tamua me'od, ki havi mevar Maseches Nazir, because we see from Maseches Nazir that if you nischaven for something bad, even though you didn't do it, you still need kapara. So too here, Hapoel haya ma'isa mechiras Yosef told us, but so over here also they did a good thing. V'alohein nischavnu l'rav l'isser u'vadei tzrichen kapara. So how come they don't need atonement? So what's the difference? How come the Orach Chaim writes by the brothers that they didn't need atonement? By the case of Nazir, you do. So the Dan Klatsky wants to explain based on the Gemara Menachos. The Gemara Menachos on Daf Samech Daled points out, a famous Gemara, that someone is fishing on Shabbos. And lo and behold, while you're fishing, you catch a tinok, you catch a child, a little baby that fell off into the shore. So the question is, basically, it saves someone's life. We know Pikuach Nefesh, saving someone's life, is docha everything. So how come, so the question is, are you labeled a Machal Shabbos or not? So it's a Machlokes in the Gemara, whether you're labeled a Machal Shabbos or not. What's the issue? The Gemara gives us the lumdis. Do we go Basa Maisa or Basa Machshava? If you go by the act, then he did an act of Atzolos Nefashos, then it's a go. But if he goes Basa Machshava, but if you go by Basa Machshava, his intent was to fish. He had no intent of saving someone, so he's chayav. So that's the machlokas in the Gemara by fishing. And in fact, we'll see, this could be relevant to another question about, do you ask a Shomer Shabbos doctor or a non-Shomer Shabbos doctor? We'll get into that another time. But that's what the Kli Chandi quotes the Gemara. And therefore, he wants to explain as follows. That what's the issue over there, whether you go Basa Machshava, Basa Maisa? He said that whole Machlokas is only when we're talking about an Aveira ben Adam Lamakom, a mitzvah ben Adam Lamakom, then you have a discussion whether you go Basa Makshava, Basa Maisa. But by a mitzvah ben Adam Chaveiro, everyone agrees the Iker is the Maisa, is the Totzah, is actually helping out the other person. You have all the great Makshavas, but if you don't actually visit the person in the hospital, you don't pick someone up at the airport, or you don't help someone in a nursing home, thinking about it all you want doesn't help. So that's what the Klei Chamdas Yisod is. On a mitzvah be'elam l'makom, and we care about the makshava. And that's why, in fact, that's what the Klei Chamdas points out. Why don't we make a bracha on a mitzvah be'elam l'chaveiro? So, so others point out, because how is it that you're about to help someone and then you make a bracha, the bracha will take away, will make you do the mitzvah later on. Like if someone comes to your house, says, I'm hungry, give me food. And of course you go ahead and you start making the bracha and the guy faints. So we don't want to do, Chazal didn't institute a bracha on something which interfere with the performance of the mitzvah. The bracha enhances the mitzvah. That's on B'nam L'makom. With Adam Chaveiro, it's an interruption. And that's what they point out. The whole reason for a bracha is to get you to enhance the mitzvah, to have the right kavanah. But you don't need a bracha by Adam Chaveiro because you don't need the kavanah. It's not about the kavanah. The Chazal tell us, if a person thought about giving tzedakah and doesn't, you don't get the mitzvah. But if a person dropped $20 out of his pocket, he didn't even know it dropped out, and an ani picked it up, a poor person picked it up, he gets schar. He gets rewarded for tzedakah. It's all about the bottom line. It's result oriented. And that's why, so when it comes to the Gemara in Nazir, that was B'nadam L'makom. That was commandments between man and God. And that's why you need a kapara, you need atonement even for bad intentions. But when it comes to Maisa, it comes to B'nadam L'chaveiro, it's all about the Maisa. So ultimately they cause no harm to you, so if therefore the Har Chaim writes, they don't need atonement. However, just to conclude, not to think that they don't need any of a type of atonement, that are out, of course, tikkun midos, of course they need atonement, that it wasn't good for them. In other words, the two types of chesed, the chesed we're talking about, the B'nadam L'chaveiro, is result oriented. But there's another aspect that affects you, and in fact it's the famous Rambam, and he writes in the Shmona Prakim that he talks about, what's the highest level. So he says, when a person says, he says, Lo Amar Adam, a person should not say, Ef Shilachol Basav, I'm not allowed to eat treif, milk and meat. Ef Shilovo Shadis, I'm not able to wear shadnis. Ef Shilovo, however, it's not possible to violate arayas. Actually, no, it is possible. I can do it. Although I do have a desire for it. What should I do? But God in heaven says that no, that I can't do it. So the highest level is to have the desire and hold back and not do it because God in heaven said. However, the Rambam points out, so therefore, what is the Rambam saying? I wish I could. I wish I could punch you in the face, but EFC, I'm not going. God said no. I wish I could. I want to curse you out, but God says no. So no. So the rest of the Rambam writes in Shmona Prakim, and the Meshach Chachma elaborates is, when is this true? That's only a mitzvah b'nadam l'makom. That's when you have this attitude that I'm doing it because your makshava plays a major role, and that's why you do it. That's why you have to say, I want to have the taiva, but God said not to. When it comes to B'nadam L'chaveiro, we don't want you to have a feeling, we want you to have a feeling of love for your fellow. And therefore, people will reverse the Rambam. When it comes to stealing, they say, as long as they don't get caught. But when it comes to eating pig, not for me, eating pig, I'm not going to eat that. So, we'll take any level. The Rambam writes it's the higher level to say EFC by mitzvahs ben makom or by mitzvahs ben chavero. Even the Rambam agrees because that's the Totzah. And that's the pshat that we know the tefillin, we have the tefillin shel rosh and the tefillin shel yad. So the tefillin you put on your hand represents action, and the tefillin on your rosh that represents machshava, the thought process. And we know you always put your tefillin shel yad on first, then your rosh. You take off your rosh, and and then you take off the shel yad. So we see you never left with the only shel rosh, but you are left with the yad. And that's what the Mefarshim point out, that you have to grab. Of course, you have to keep both. To be a complete Jew, you gotta fulfill mitzvahs, but adam lamakom and adam chavero. However, they point out, but if you want to take on chumras, so first you have to ground yourself in mitzvahs, but adam chavero. So you first put on the tefillin shel yad by itself, and once you master not just different aspects of doing things, bad midos, doing bad things to people, then you can take on other chumras. But we see first ground yourself on mitzvahs b'anam chavero, and then b'anam l'makom. That's the Orach Chaim Yisod, the Kli Chemdesh Yisod, that when it comes to mitzvahs b'anam l'makom, then you need kapara, even a machshava ra. But machshava ra by mitzvah b'anam chavero, you don't need a kapara because it's all about the result, and in the end, the brothers did well to Yosef, and we just pointed out. However, Tikkun Midos, of course, one should always work on the Midos, that they should always try to improve and do nice things.